Hi everyone, and welcome to Talk It Out Thursday. Today we're tackling something that so many parents across Scotland and really across the whole UK are quietly worrying about when school starts to break our young people down. Now in Scotland we are quite far into our term now, and I'm beginning to see lots more of this beginning to happen. In England and Wales, you started a little bit later. Hopefully you're not quite as far into this, but this can happen quite early on in the term, so it's really important. So the topic this week is not this time, spotting the signs of burnout and speaking up before your child breaks. It is so important to get there before the burnout happens. So the burnout is maybe from school pressure, anxiety, masking, sensory overwhelm, trying to get it right all the time. You know how serious it gets because we've seen it already. And that's why we're saying not again and not this time. If you've had a child who has had a burnout in the past, you know exactly what this looks like. So you know the signs. And burnout isn't about laziness or bad behavior. It's a complete mental and emotional shutdown. They are not coping. So it happens when your child's trying to fit in, trying to cope, trying to meet expectations that are too high for too long, and their system just runs out of fuel. So you might see things like refusal to go to school, panic attacks before school, complete exhaustion, not recovering over the weekend, unable to engage in just everyday activities, meltdowns or shutdowns after holding it together all day. Physical symptoms. So we're beginning to hear my tummy hurts. I'm really tired. I've got like constant fatigue. My head hurts. And there's that loss of joy or confidence. And you see that spark going out. And what might happen is the schoolwork begins to deteriorate too. Now, they don't have to have all of these symptoms. This is just to give you an idea of the variance in symptoms. And there are many more as well. So if we don't act early, burnout can lead to long-term disengagement, trauma, or serious mental health struggles. That's why early intervention matters. I've seen some young people taking 2, 3, even 4 years to begin to recover. So don't let it get too bad. Let's nip this in the bud before it gets to that stage. So let's think about why the school environment matters. Often it's not the child that's broken, they can cope, but it's the environment that's breaking them. So there's too much sensory overload, might be too much noise, too much stimulation, too much movement. And there's those unrealistic expectations that the child is going to be able to listen and cope and complete their schoolwork with less and less support. And there's that lack of understanding about neurodivergence or anxiety and how that might be seen, or even how a child masks and what that actually looks like. And it can look like they're doing just fine. Or even peer behavior that leaves the child feeling unsafe. There's so many different things that can be impacting a young person. And here's where your rights as a parent come in. Okay, across the UK, schools have a legal duty. Hear that? It's a legal duty. It's not a request. It's not a nice to have. It's a legal duty to support our children whose well-being or mental health has been affected by school. So let's break that down. So in Scotland, schools are bound by GIRFEC, which is Getting It Right for Every Child, and the Additional Support for Learning Scotland Act 2004. So that means if anything, including anxiety, trauma, or burnout, affects your child's ability to learn, they have a right to support. They do not need a diagnosis for that. They have a right. In England, support comes under the SEND Code of Practice 2015 and the Children Families Act 2014. And if your child's mental health or stress levels are impacting their ability to access education, they have a special educational need. And the school must make reasonable adjustments. You're not asking them for the world. You're asking them for small adjustments that can make all the difference. And they must provide that targeted support. You can ask for a SEND support plan or an EHCP if needs are significant. In Wales, it's kind of a similar system. It's just called something slightly different. It's covered by the Additional Learning Needs and Educational Tribunal with Wales Act 2018. And it gives children and young people the right to an individual development plan. So if they need support for learning, emotional well-being, or mental health, so across all of the nations, the child's emotional well-being is legally recognised as part of their learning needs. So when the school say, but they're doing just fine with their attainment, that's not everything. Attainment is one component of their legal needs. So what can you do? You need to speak up right now. So step one, speak to the school. Ask for a meeting with the child's class teacher, the guidance teachers, support for learning, the SENCO. It's got different titles depending on where you live, but basically it's teachers who provide that additional support needs. Ask for them to be there. Ask for that to be a conversation that you have. Step two, be really specific. Show them clear examples of where things are a problem. So it might be that they're coming home and crying after school. That's a really specific thing. They're anxious about specific lessons, or they're anxious about specific environments. They're anxious about specific children. So let the school know this, because they have a duty, because what we're looking at is how this is impacting the child. We're not looking at blame. We're looking at the impact this is having on the child. So their mental health is deteriorating, and I'm really worried. And this is what they're telling me. This is what I see. Write it all down. Probably easier, because it's so easy to get very emotional about this. And rightly so, because it's your child and you want to protect them. But if you have to provide a really good argument, write it down. It's so much easier when you're getting emotional. So step three, ask for a plan. So whether it's called a wellbeing plan, support plan, SEND support, whatever it is basically the principles are the same thing. You're looking for a named adult the child can check in with. So they need a safe person. You're looking for a quiet or a safe place that they can go to decompress. They need to know how they can get there as well. Sometimes kids are not sure, how am I supposed to do that? I know it's there, but I don't know how to access it. So be really specific. How are they supposed to get there? How are they supposed to ask for this help? Do they need to ask at all? Can they just get up and leave? What is going on for them? And there's got to be flexibility in the expectations or timetable as well. And there needs to be regular reviews to see what's helping and what is not helping. And we don't remove the things just because we don't think the child needs it anymore. Actually, really make sure this is reviewed properly, because you as a parent are a partner with the school to get it right for the child. Step 4 now, this one is super important, and there's sometimes a little bit of a kickback at this point, so prepare yourself for that, but follow up in writing. So after the meeting, send an email summarising what was discussed and what support was agreed. What is your understanding of this? It helps to hold everything accountable. And if you end up in a situation where the school staff are saying, I think you're a bit anxious about this, absolutely. You probably are anxious about this, but that's not why you're doing this. You are looking after your child. You're advocating for their needs. So please go ahead and do it. If things don't improve, what do you do? So if things continue to decline, speak to the GP. Ask for that referral to CAMHS, or if there's any other mental health support available to you. Now, we all know there's big, long waiting lists for things, but your GP is there to help you. Escalate things within the local authority. Ask for an assessment of need. Ask what risk assessments the school has put in. Really begin to push a little bit harder, because your child is really important. You can seek advice. So in Scotland, it's Inquire. England, it's IPSEA, IPSE. In Wales, it's SNAP, Cymru, and Young Minds goes right across the UK as well. So these groups are there to help you to understand your rights and how to challenge decisions if the support isn't being given. Remember, you do not need a diagnosis for your child to have support. If their mental health or burnout is impacting learning, that is a support need. So let's make our message this week. We've watched our children burn out before, and this time we're catching it early. Trust what you know, notice the signs, and say clearly, my child's mental health is deteriorating and we need support now. So because waiting until the break is not an option. So I'm Kirsteen, and this was my Talk It Out Thursday, and let's keep talking it out so that no child has to hit burnout before they're relieved. Okay, see you soon.